Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. I'm seeing folks pop in, and it's great to see faces join us. And we've got an amazing panel here as well. We'll get started right away just to honor everyone's time. We've got 45 minutes, and we're thrilled and honored, actually, to be asked to deliver this presentation that we delivered in Seattle once again. And one of the glorious upsides of doing this a second time and virtually is that we can add one of the panelists that we wanted to have on in the first go around, Jerry Almorandez from formerly of Santa Ana Unified, is able to join us this time, and we wanted to have him as well. And also Mr. Chad Lanes from my district, ABC Unified, also wanted to be in Seattle but couldn't. So you guys are getting even more than what we got in Seattle. So it's a win all around. So I wanted to thank Jill Brown and Keith Kruger. Oh, look at it. You say his name and he shows up for the opportunity. So thank you for that. Keith, did you want to say anything to welcome the crew here?
No, I'm just here to learn.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, it looks like we've got a good quorum, so we're going to start going here. My name is Mike Lawrence, and I'm the Director of IT at ABC Unified, which is a real district in Cerritos, California. It's in Los Angeles County, not too far away from Santa Ana and right nearby Laco, where our third panelist hails from. And I'll let them each introduce themselves on the next slide here. But you can see where they all come from on this slide. And the title of the session is Remember the Human, Deploying AI in Your District. And the initial conception, just so you understand what we were trying to do, was to find a small district, a mid-sized district, a large district, and a county office of education to really speak to all levels of how you might try a different deployment. And we did lose our small district this morning because he's super busy, but you guys have, I think, more than enough content to cover the gap with the remaining three organizations. So we'll start with Jerry, and you can introduce yourself, and then we'll hand off to Christopher and then Chad.
Thank you, Mike. Jerry Almendarez, retired superintendent, Santa Ana Unified School District, and the founder of Creative Futures Collaborative, which is a way to help districts navigate and integrate AI into their workflows and their platforms.
Christopher Hong, the Assistant Director of EdTech over at the Los Angeles County Office of Ed, here to support and provide as much help as possible for a lot of different districts, a lot of different individuals in deploying and integrating AI into their work.
And I'm Chad Lanes. I am ABC's Instructional Technology Specialist. I come with a background in the classroom where I was there for 36 years, and I welcome the opportunity to take the lessons learned there, especially with technology and a blended approach, and bring it to a wider audience as the instructional tech specialist. I always approach everything we do with that teacher lens, and I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to talk to everybody virtually, and it's the next best thing to being there in Seattle.
Thank all three of you for joining us. I appreciate it. And I want to remind the attendees, we've all been in webinars before, but we have an open chat. We'd love to see your questions, and we'll do our best to respond as we dive through this. So we structured it with some questions at the top, and then when possible, we've got a couple of slides in to support some comments from some of the panelists. But I also may even wander the interwebs and try to support our panelists as they want to share their story and what they've done to deploy AI in their representative organizations. So with that, we thought we'd hit the first group of questions together with only 45 minutes. I've just got 3 questions that are sort of related and then 2 questions that are sort of related. And I thought that would be a way that we could probably cover the content that we wanted to. So the first set of questions here is really, how did you approach AI adoption in your organization? And obviously related to that, who did you involve? What priorities did you identify? Is there anyone that would like to jump in and start with that topic?
I can go. We started when it first came out in 2021. OpenAI released ChatGPT. It was a lot of unknown about the platform. And so what we did as an executive cabinet is we started to experiment and explore. We piloted the program only with the executive cabinet members. We started out like everybody else does with recipes, planning trips, and then we evolved into using it to help us with emails, and then it evolved to, hey, can this help us with lesson plans, and then ultimately strategic planning. Once we got the executive cabinet excited, members of executive cabinet were eager to share it with their executive directors, and they were able to ask for volunteers. So we didn't delegate it, we didn't mandate it for anybody. We asked for volunteers, and not everybody agreed. Not everybody wanted to use it because there was still a lot of none, and there was concern about safety and privacy issues. So we only opened up the platform for those that were interested. And when we did, they got excited and wanted to share it with their colleagues. And you can see on that graphic right there how it kind of evolved over the following year to the point now where we're pretty integrated. We've developed those early adopters, embrace them. We call them reverse mentors. They call themselves piloteers of Santa Ana Unified School District, which is pretty cool, but it's just evolved, and we couldn't be happier. And they're continuing the work as we speak.
That's great. And by the way, I'm sharing from his LinkedIn account. So if you haven't yet found Jerry on LinkedIn, I would highly recommend it. He's a regular poster and he's got great resources like this on that website. Christopher or Chad?
I can jump in. I was in the classroom and I saw a posting for the instructional technology specialist at ABC. And I applied and was given a performance task. And that performance task included creating and designing a rollout for AI. It was extremely intensive. It took me a lot of time. I cursed the person who came up with this task. But in doing so, it enabled me to identify what the foundational principle would be. And I knew that as a district, we need to take a human-centered approach. That HI would always be the emphasis, human intelligence, and AI would be a tool that we would leverage. And that principle is a through line through everything that we do. So as I approached my job, we started to work at building a guidance document. We built excitement. We acknowledged those that were fearful and had apprehension. And we slowly started to get the word out. As an evangelist for AI and the potential that it could have in the classroom, I thought in year one, that's what it was all about. Building excitement, talking about the possibilities, and leaning into that formula, that HI plus AI, because when it's done properly, that's when you're getting all of those magical results. So we're getting accessibility and personalized learning. We're getting student engagement. Teachers are able to be more productive in the classroom. And more than anything, we're making content accessible to everybody. So as that excitement starts to build, we start to lean in more into the guidance document. There's so much more to share, but that's the foundation. In year number 2.5, we have Director Mike Lawrence who jumps aboard, and things really start to ramp up with a person who has a tremendous vision and a shared understanding that what we're going to do is to build this ship in an ethical, responsible manner.
Thank you, Chad. Christopher, did you want to share about LACO and all the work you've done to support your districts?
Yeah, so we're unique. We're large. Los Angeles County Office of Ed, we have 80 school districts, about 1.2 million students. So when we look at any plan, anything we do, we think about all of our school districts, from the ones as small as 80 students to the ones as big as LESD, where it's like 500,000 students. And so when we planned this, when we worked on the implementation rollout of artificial intelligence, we are basically for lack of a better word, we were building the plane as we were flying, which I feel like a lot of individuals were doing. So we were doing trainings while developing policies, while developing guidelines, and just working. And what we actually started doing is we started the training component first, because when OpenAI released their information, our superintendent, Dr. Eduardo, said, hey, we need to train our districts. We need to help our educators understand the value in artificial intelligence because she saw the value in it. So we worked on it. And as we were working on it, we realized there's no policy or any guidelines or any information in place. So what we did on our end is we actually put forth a board resolution where we would address 10 different items in the span of 6 months. So I don't know how many of y'all have ever worked with the County Office of Ed. We usually don't work that fast. So we did 6 months. ABC Unified was part of it. The large LUSD, we had over 80 different individuals um, representing for-profit, nonprofit, our students. We had students involved in it. We had parents involved in it. We had universities involved in it. So we made it as most comprehensive as possible. We all came together and we essentially talked about what does this look like for your school district? What should it look like? Why it's important to address these issues as opposed to just saying, hey, we're going to wait for somebody to come and tell us what to do. So what we opted to do is develop guidelines. And the reason why we opted guidelines is we didn't want to create policies. Policy isn't something that I feel like we needed to do with artificial intelligence. We opted for guidelines because if we create policies for AI, what's going to happen with the next tech tool or the next EdTech tech tool? Are we going to go ahead and create a new policy for that? Additionally, looking at a lot of the policies, almost every school district already covered the use of AI without realizing that they covered the use of AI through their acceptable use policy or their technology use policy, or even their student honesty program or dishonesty policies. So what we did is we drafted everything with feedback from the task force where we met twice a month to answer different questions, and we built everything together. And the voice that led everything were our students, because our students would be in these task force and they would say, I like this idea, but this is going to impact me in 2 or 3 years from now. Can we adjust it so it doesn't hamstring our creativity? It doesn't hamstring our ability to use these tools, because they were giving us a different perspective on how it looks. And we're talking about 2.5, 3 years later, what we've actually done at the County Office of Ed is we've established an AI Governance Council. And the purpose of the AI Governance Council is to go through and go backwards and look at all of our contracts, look at all our procurement vehicles, look at all the products we have, and see what products have implemented AI and have them go back and update our contracts with them to make sure our data is protected, to make sure our information is safeguarded, as opposed to why are you adding it in there without telling us where you're getting the information from? And so part of this has been a journey where we do that back and forth, and our AI Governance Council also takes feedback from the technology team or my team where we pilot tools. We bring it to the AI Governance Council and we give them the rationale as to why we think this should be in our classrooms or not in our classrooms. And the part that's most unique for us is that when we develop these and we look at different policies, we're looking at predominantly our different AIs, we're looking at predominantly around the use for our incarcerated youth. Anytime we get an incarcerated youth, they don't have access to technology, and we want to make sure that they can use these tools so that when they are released back to their community or they go back to their traditional school, that they have had access to AI. So that's our main charge, or my main charge, with all these tools.
Mike, if I could add something, I think a lot of districts are going through exactly the same process that Christopher mentioned with, not having a policy in place, but using existing policies like the acceptable use agreements. And that's really how we started. But I will point out two issues that I think are important for the viewers to reflect on. One is that this AI initiative needs to be leadership driven, like the superintendent and executive cabinet have to be the drivers of this initiative, not dish it off to a director. And there's a lot of reasons why that's important. Two is they have to be reflective and open mind about what I call reverse mentorship. We have a bunch of talented young people out there like Christopher and Chad and Mike who have a lot of expertise in a lot of things, and there's a gap in generations. Typically, the leaders of the district, or there's a difference in a generation gap. And we like to do things the way we're comfortable with. And the times are changing so quickly and so rapidly that we can't afford to think that way anymore. And we need to tap into the talent that we have. And so one of the things that I would recommend is, as they're beginning this journey, is to create a task force like LA Unified did, an AI advisory task force, and meet on a regular basis and ask simple questions like, what platforms are you guys using? How are you using them? And what are they working? What are you working on? And then have them share and reflect back. That cycle of improvement and that conversation is really the iteration of it over time is going to be what changes those districts. And in Santa Ana, we were so proud because I'd mentioned the Piloteers, but they formed a Creative Catalyst Collective, which is a group that looks at if anybody wants to try a new platform, they send it to this committee. The committee vets it. They pilot it at a very small scale for a few weeks or a couple of months, and then they come back and report thumbs up or thumbs down. And so just things that the viewers need to consider as they're engaging this journey.
And
I think it's crucial to have that kind of a skunk works. Sorry, go ahead, Christopher.
yeah, no, I was going to piggyback off of what Jerry was saying, because if it wasn't for our leadership saying, hey, make this happen, I don't think we would have done anything. I think we would have waited and we would have done the training. But the fact that our leadership said, hey, go make it happen, we trust you to make it happen, made it infinitely easier. I think the other thing is, for all y'all just starting the process, you are at a huge advantage in that almost every platform now has AI embedded into it, and odds are your school district already has it. So just use what you have to start with. You don't need to go out there and buy a new product. You don't need to get anything new, but start with what you have and build that up and help educate the educators on this. And as you educate the educators, make sure your leaders are in that room with that training. Because every time my team has gone out to do training and the assistant superintendent, they're sitting in that room learning with their staff. You see a huge shift in what's going on and how successful the AI implementation will be.
One of the aha moments, Mike, was in exactly what Christopher is talking about. I was in a room with a group of teachers that were going through some training, and they were so excited about how they were designing systems and platforms to train the teachers so they can use in the classrooms. So one of the conversations we had was like, well, here's a tool that will help teachers be more efficient. And I'm thinking, what about helping the superintendent be more efficient? What tools do you have for me? So we sat down and we started to have a conversation with my team, and we started to look at those routine activities that superintendents, executive cabinets go through. And then we started creating these tools that actually made us more efficient and allowed us to get to these meetings more and to sit down and just be present and listen. And so, that's what leaders in the systems need to do. Is it's great for classroom teachers and it's great for students, but it's also great for the district leaders as well.
I think that's great. Jerry, the one thing you did say is to lean into those younger people, and you identified me as one of those. So I'm going to I'm going to say that that's not the thing, but operating in this arena of transparency is so important. And even being just sort of a vigilante, walking around and listening for opportunities to assist people like a superintendent, assistant superintendent, and showing them the possibilities. Getting those people to be part of your advocacy team is huge. So when we were even creating our guidance documents, our superintendent wanted to be a part of it. She was leaving comments in my document, correcting my grammar and spelling. I mean, that's not what I asked for, but it told me like she was truly reading and invested. And to have that person as a support is really pays dividends for all of us at the district.
I can give you a real example. So I was working with a district, and the superintendent, we were having a conversation. Initial conversations are like, what are your workflows, and tell me how, what your challenges are. So we had a conversation about his workflows, and then I started to talk about, well, here's some, like a superintendent toolkit that I can share with you that will help, GPTs that will help make your life a lot easier. And so as we're talking, his IT person joined the conversation, and I could see frustration in the IT person sitting right next to the superintendent. And the superintendent leans over. He goes, what's wrong? And he goes, I told you about these a year ago. We have them. And I started laughing. And this cycle repeats itself over and over and over again, which is why it's so important for the leaders of the organization to lean on their people.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to that just based on one of the questions, what priorities did we identify? And one of them was there are a lot of times where the tech person isn't in the room with the executive leadership. So you have the opportunity, make sure you put the tech person in there because they can also explain the back end stuff as to why, hey, we don't want to go with this platform because of their data safety, XYZ, or yes, we already have this program, so let's just leverage this program as opposed to buying a new one. At the other end, too, is one of the things that we've learned as a priority is we want to teach the people how to drive the car before they go out and buy the auto driving cars. So with a lot of the trainings we focus on is we focus on the prompt engineering or the basic foundational skills. And once they get that, then let's go play with all the new fun tools that have already done that prompting because then you know how to refine as you engage with these tools.
One of the reasons why we engaged so early in this process was we knew we were facing a budget deficit, and we wanted to discover ways that we could be able to automate and be able to repurpose positions within the district. We hired a company to review all of our job descriptions and then identify within those duties what duties could be automated. And our plan was through attrition, not to let people go and fire people, but to repurpose them for those harder to fill positions. And so that was about 3 years ago. But the other thing that we realized as we were engaging these platforms is there are companies out there that will charge you a lot of money to do something that you could actually build yourself for $20, whatever the subscription is, and actually do it yourself for much, much cheaper. And if you're a small district, any size of district, but especially a small district, the ability to have these digital agents help you navigate all of these challenges is mind-blowing. And so something to consider as they begin this journey.
Well, and you've taken me to the perfect next stop, which is challenges that you might face. And you brought up budget shortfalls. I think every district in California is looking at it, and many districts across the country. So we could use the word challenges, but I also love to throw out the fact that, as you pointed out, there could also be opportunities. And so I'll throw this out to the panel. The next set of questions, what challenges have you faced, and what are your next steps?
I can jump in first. It's a challenge I think that we're working toward addressing, but at ABC, we use a teach the teacher model where we have a technology ambassador from every campus that comes to the district, and they go through a whole day of professional development. We are sharing resources, integration strategies. We're talking about the big issues that they can take back to their campus and share that with their teachers. The excitement on those days is palpable. It's a group that really has great ideas, and they leave me every time with great intent to share that message back at the campus. But it hasn't been happening to the point that I like. So I started to think about, well, what is happening? Talk to them, and identified that there is a broken bridge between our site tech champions, that's what we call this group, and their administrators. So we found that it'd be very important to create that bridge. So this year we were intentional, Mike was, and visited every single campus before the school year started and talked to those principals and administrators about the direction that we're taking as it relates to AI and technology integration and the importance of allowing these psych tech champions the opportunity to share the good word. So I think it's really important. We've talked about involving all of these community partners, but that bridge there and building that bridge is a challenge that I think we're addressing, and we'll see if we get a bigger impact. But that globally, the biggest challenge is there are so many opportunities for teachers to create engagement, to make learning accessible. And when I have an opportunity to show them, sit with them, I have immediate converts, but I can't get to all of them. So I'm hoping that this bridge is going to allow those teachers that I work with the opportunity to spread the word.
I think we're definitely getting to a theme of leveraging leadership, whether it be superintendent, executive cabinet, or individual site leadership. I think that's definitely a theme that I'm hearing. Jerry, you unmuted.
Yeah, so I think another little story here to share. So the school sites are talking about the leadership. The school sites are responsible for creating the site SIPSs, the school improvement plans for each school, and turning them into the district. So we at the district talking about workflows and making more efficient. We created a GPT to actually do an analysis to see if the SIPSs were aligned with the district and board priorities in the LCAP or the board priorities. And so out of the 59 schools, we took 20 SIPSs. We ran them through just to pilot this GPT to see what feedback it would get. Out of the 20, 4 came back unaligned. So then we said, okay, let's look at these 4 a little bit closer. So we had a team look at these 4, and out of the 4, we found 3 of them, the date was just changed. Everything else was the same. And so it was like, whoa, how long has this been going? And then granted, this is the first time we use this. So we pulled the principals in, and very, very rational reasons why they didn't have APs, they were in IAPs, they're new principals to their sites, a lot of valid reasons. So we said, okay, go back and fix it. So the following principal meeting, we had principals raise their hand. They came, and the word got out when we talked to these 4 principals. We didn't punish them. We just said, go back and fix it. So the next meeting, a couple of principals raise their hand and say, hey, since you guys are using AI to analyze the SIPSs, can we use AI to write them? And it was like, yeah. And so that was like the beginning of the principals seeing a value in this new platform. Was like, now we've given them permission to do it. And then they started doing other things with it, BAL schedules, assignments and stuff like that. But it just took off and running. And again, it's the modeling from the leadership of saying, okay, here's a platform. Here's how we're going to use it. Here's an issue that we found. And then principals responding to it and say, hey, we want to use it too if you guys are using it. And so it's important. But back to Christopher's point that he was making is, it is important to have IT in executive cabinet meetings, just like it's important to have your communication person in there. And so the reason why we were able to do this is because our IT person was a fly on the wall, just listening to the conversations and already finding solutions for us and telling us, hey, you guys have these SIPs to do, they're 59. I hear you complaining all the time. What if we did this? And we were looking at each other like, you can do that? Yeah, we can. And then the magic started.
So I will add that at my district, I am a member of cabinet, and so I absolutely try to perform that role whenever I can, even if it's a topic that's far removed from technology directly. I try to be that sort of naive question asker, or the person that says, yeah, we have a platform, or there's tools that we can research and do that. So I'm glad to hear that that's valuable in your experience. And I would encourage the listeners, if you're in a superintendent role or at the cabinet level, encouraged to bring that top technology person into that conversation. Even if it's not a regular attendance, bring them in fairly frequently if you can't put them on officially. But I saw Christopher, you unmuted. Sorry to jump in. I just wanted to add my 2 cents.
No, absolutely. And I think the best opportunity I've seen is, if you're going to go in on AI, start at the top and announce it. Because there have been times where I'll go to a district, or my team will go to a district, and the teachers and the principals are like, are we allowed to use it? I know we're getting training on this, but I'm not sure. So if you have the top person, cabinet, all of them just say, yes, we're going to go engage with AI, take that opportunity to engage with them and explain why you're engaging with the AI. Not so much the, hey, and then address the, yes, there may be concerns. We're going to address those concerns. Yes, there's going to be trainings, but don't do one-off trainings. There have been a lot of times where I'll go to districts, or I'll see districts where they'll hire somebody. They do one training at the beginning of August or beginning of September, and then that's it until the next year. You need continuous trainings, integrate it into your professional learning community, integrate into your team level meetings, all that fun stuff. Make sure it's integrated as much as possible. And then I cannot harp enough on that. Have a tech person in the room. But this is where I'm going to challenge you all, is when you have that tech person in the room, make sure they can code switch and not speak techie. Because the moment you speak techie is the moment you've lost your cabinet member. And I've seen enough times where a cabinet member will ask something and our technical people will go very technical and it just flies over their head. break it down, have them use the AI to go ahead and break it down if you need to, but make sure they speak, make sure not dumb it down, but simplify it in a way where it makes sense to everybody.
And I'll add, Mike, one thing, superintendents don't like to hear the word no. So, it's not no, it's how can we,
Yeah.
And so, and I know that people in that space are masterful and being able to articulate, well, if it's a violation of ed code or the law, that's one thing. But the question that I like feedback on is, okay, if we can't do it this way, how can we do it? And begin there.
I want to add just a little bit about Chris's idea to include those tech assistants and ensure that they're speaking a language that everybody can understand. So one thing that I really am proud of at our district is that we are empowering our tech assistants to be more instructional assistants. So anything that I teach my teachers, I have an opportunity every month to meet with them, and they get the same type of PD. So now they can walk into a classroom, they can seek out those opportunities. They can assist not only with cords and wires, but they can also help instructionally. And I just see a difference in how they walk, what they do, what they've become. Some of these people, there's one of them who is now in the classroom, and he attributes much of his success to the opportunities he had to learn with me and with the team when he was in that role as tech assistant.
And I'll just jump in, and Christopher, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here, but I really want to call out something that you and your office did that was helpful for our district, and I think obviously many other districts, even outside of LA County. And that was within those guidelines you published in 2024, you included a communication strategy. And I want to draw out the fact that here on page 13, this is actually a button, this AI and Education Communications Toolkit. And you click on that and open it up. And Christopher, if you could speak to this I think is extraordinary, what you did for the districts in LA.
Yeah, and so that came as part of the discussion with our task force. They're like, how do we talk to our teams about this? How do we talk to our families, our communities, our school districts, everyone? Like, how do we talk to make sure they understand? And so what we did is we broke it down in a way where you copy and paste. You can steal, it's not stealing in education. You can borrow any of this. This is for you to use because we want schools and educators to be on board and understand how to use these guidelines. And so we do have like the templates here. Hey, to our team, to our staff, this is why we're using, why we're integrating AI with our families, why we're integrating AI and so forth. And the idea is to be transparent about it, because if you're not transparent about it, there may be a parent that comes by later and says, we don't want to use AI because of XYZ. But at least if you push this out and add this FAQ, add all the information, at least alleviate some of the concerns they may have. It may alleviate some of the caution they have, because ultimately at the end of the day, they just want to know that you're taking care of their kids and that you're protecting their data. And so the more you can do that, the better. And we give way, like, I personally think town halls are probably one of the best ways to do this. Open up town halls, have your community come in, have them discuss, and just share why we're moving this direction, or why we're not moving a certain direction, or what the pacing is and what the end goal is. Because a lot of times we'll put tools into our students, put tools into our educators, and our families may not know why. And so if you can help them understand why, the better it is for everybody.
Mike, we had an example when we were developing our policy in Santa Ana. The team that was actually creating it, a group of about 40 representatives across the district, couldn't agree towards the very end. They wanted to cross the T's and dot the I's. And one of the teachers on the committee said, look, we'll never get this thing done if it's perfect. It will never be perfect because the technology is innovating so quickly. He goes, what if we just committed and agreed to revisiting the guidance in 4 months? Every 4 months, we'll come back and revisit this, because if a new technology is developed, then we can address it every 4 months. So in Santa Ana's guidance, it's reviewed every 4 months. And that put those teachers that were at a crossroads, that made them feel comfortable knowing that, okay, in 4 months, we're good. We can revisit it. And we can revisit these concerns that may not be concerns because the innovation is advanced or whatever. And so, it will never be perfect. And if you wait for it to be perfect, you will never start. And I think that's the other issue was the biggest complaint that I run into when I talk to people about is I just don't have time to learn it. Well, guess what? This innovation will free up your time if you spend a little bit of time learning it. And people just, it hasn't sunk in with them yet. But once they discover how much it helps them, not only the classroom teacher, not only the principal, but the executive cabinet and the superintendent, it can do amazing things.
Yeah, and I brought up when you mentioned town hall, I brought up a picture here, and you're actually in it, Christopher, because you were our guest at our very first ABC AI Community Roundtable, and you could see Mr. Lanes there as well. I'm in one of the shots, but probably the most important photo in this collage here is the panel of students that Mr. Lanes gathered to talk to us about how they use AI, how they view AI. But yeah, I know many districts have done a process like this, a regular cadence of it. Ours are quarterly now. But I thought I'd just put this slide in there. Other challenges that you wanted to speak to?
I think the biggest challenge I had is just don't wait and just engage, just jump in. That's the only way this is going to get off, kind of like what Jared was saying. It's not going to be perfect, but you're going to continue to build that plane as you fly. You're going to continue to build and refine and just know that it's okay to iterate.
Pick a platform.
That's
pick an AI
exactly what I was going to
platform.
say. Iterate, iterate, iterate. It's no longer for us HI plus AI. It's HI plus AI plus HI plus AI plus H, and I go on and on and on. Back to that picture of the kids at the roundtable discussions. I think that's for us the next challenge. We really want to lean into that student voice. So they've been amazing in these roundtables discussions. They've become regular facilitators. We have them giving short little hosting speeches. It is an amazing thing that we want to continue to build upon. And like you said, Chris, part of your task force included them too. We're in good hands with these kids. I mean, when they get a chance to speak, they are concerned about ethical, responsible use. I was shocked, but they really are. So that's something at ABC that we're going to really lean into this year.
So we've got about 5 minutes left, and I'm curious if there's any questions from the audience. But as we're looking to see if those are coming in or not, I wanted to give you each a chance to do a final thought as we just do a quick round robin. Anything that we didn't cover that you really think we should, or any questions for us to think about as we.
I could jump in just really quickly. We've talked a lot about transparency and the importance of that. There is concern in education always about that cheating thing and what's cheating, what's not cheating. And I think that we can mitigate or change that conversation by building this trust and transparency in classrooms and just as a mindset. So I think it begins with teachers being explicit in their instruction. They model the good. They celebrate student voice and choice, and then we provide them some tools. So we're looking at a screen here. We partnered with Laguna Beach Unified, who developed an extension called the AI Trust You extension. And basically what it does, it allows teachers and students to get on the same page as it relates to expectations and AI use. And this year, we have up the game by creating a badging system, a brand new badging system that allows students to have a graphic representation of their AI use. And again, a percentage of how it's used. They can put that in a Google Doc, they can put it on a slide or even at the end of a video. But I think when we have an expectation and then we pair that with a tool that is practical and easy for teachers and students to use, then we can really get some traction on that.
For me, Mike, it is relevant. It's staying relevant as a superintendent, staying relevant as a human being and as an employee. My responsibility as an employee of the district to serve the community and the students. And so it's my obligation to learn these new platforms. They're not going away. And people often say, is AI going to take my job? And you've heard that saying, AI won't take your job, but people that know it will. And so there's never a good time, but start now, pick a platform, learn it, play with it, start on things easy like planning a trip and a recipe. And the more you do that, the more you're going to start to say, well, what can it do for me at work? Can it do this? Can it answer emails and so forth? And so just start. That's my recommendation.
I'm just going to reiterate what Chad and Jerry says. Start, make it happen. Because at the end of the day, if you don't make it happen, who will? You are going to make a decision regardless. It's when you decide, the suffix means you kill off a choice. So when you decide on something, commit to it, make it happen. Obviously, you can go adjust and change your choices, but commit, make it happen, and engage with the community, engage with your students, engage with your families and parents, educators, everyone across the board to make sure their opinions are validated and heard. The other aspect I would go is if you really boil it down, all this to one simple thing for me is it's enhancing and innovating our student learning experience. So the more you can do that, the better it is for our students because our students can pay attention to any video of something they like for like hours on end. But when you ask them to read a book, sometimes they check out. Why? Because it's not engaging to them or it's not enhancing their learning. AI can support with a lot of that, and it can also help balance out and differentiate the learnings for our students.
Okay, well, since I'm not seeing questions, I'm going to give us all a bonus round, a
Ooh.
lightning round where the points can really change.
Ooh.
So I want to ask each of you, tell us one interesting use case for AI that you've recently used or witnessed in the last couple of weeks or so. I'll start with I'm working with my team. We're actually building a series of videos for our presentations at board meetings, and we're starting to play around with Runway and Veo. Some of the tools that are creating AI generated video. So that's like the most interesting recent use case for me. And I'll hand it off to whoever's got their most interesting AI use case they want to share.
I got a quick one. Notebook LM's video explainer is amazing. Take a document, stick it in there, and now you have a slide deck that has a voiceover that could be sent to all kinds of different audiences. It's amazing. It's a quick one. I hope we get to cycle back. I got more.
And for me, it is a superintendent's toolkit, a series of GPTs that help superintendents, executive cabinets prepare for board meetings, labor relations, negotiations, budgeting, all that stuff, academic, strategic planning as well.
And for us, we've been using an AI program platforms to help develop our standard operations, our SOPs, our scope of works, things like that, and just tracking everything and creating fact guides out of it.
Fantastic. Okay, Chad, you got your wish. We
Great.
have a
I had
couple
a
minutes.
teacher contact me yesterday and said she has 4 Mandarin students and a Portuguese student, and she's using Brisk to give those students content that is accessible to them. This is day 3. So think about a year ago, 5 years ago, how long it would take to get that student content that they could dig into. Day 3. Love it.
All right, any bonus second round ones for Christopher or Jerry?
You know, I think it is, again, back to time. It is so critical that these platforms could help you reduce the amount of time on the routine stuff and all the worrying, the strategic planning, the foresight that you have to do, because we spend so much time putting out fires. We're so exhausted by the end of the day. And we think and we prepare to plan, but then the next day comes and we're putting out fires again. This could actually help you plan for the future.
Okay, I'm going to try and stick the landing here. But I really thank everybody for attending. I thank the panelists for sharing their expertise. And of course, we thank CoSN for organizing this and gathering it together and for doing this activity where you actually look at the evaluations from the conference and invite the ones with some positive reviews back to do an encore presentation. The slides are available at edushare.ing/human. And that should take you to what you saw on the screen. But there's also tons more slides that are in there that we didn't get a chance to share. So please click through and explore. Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, the whole CoSN team. And appreciate the opportunity to share.